everybody. I am Beth Shibley from Aging Matters in Brevard's Sunflower House, and this is the third session of our Caregiving 101 workshop, Getting Organized. And with me today, I have the esteemed Ruth Rhodes from Rhodes Law and the esteemed Mac Cannon from Dignity Memorial, and also Jim Powell is a community member, and he and his mom live here in Brevard County and Florida. And we're here today to talk about, essential planning for the paperwork and the things that, the not necessarily the sexy stuff we have to deal with as we get older. So I think I'd like to start with Ruth. If you'd like to go ahead and start your seminar. Start with maybe a quick introduction.
Absolutely. So hi, everyone. I'm Ruth Rhodes. I'm an elder law attorney here in Brevard County, and I'm a lifelong resident of Brevard County. I have two offices. My law firm is called Rhodes Law PA. I have a main office on Sarno Road in Melbourne, and I have a satellite office, excuse me, in Vieira at One Senior Place. And we take care of a lot of different things here at Rhodes Law. We help folks with estate planning, Medicaid planning, probate, trust administration, guardianship, and just about anything that involves those topics, whether they're litigated or not litigated. We help people with all sorts of things. And I've been practicing law since 2006 and practicing elder law since about 2007, and had my own practice since 2010. And I have no intention of ever leaving Brevard County. This is my home.
You mean the Feet First Club.
What's that?
I said, I call them the Feet First Club.
That's right. How you're leaving. That's right. And well, yeah, a lifer, huh? All right. So did you make me the lead yet? So I'm going to try. I can't hear you, Beth.
I did make you the host.
Okay. All right. So I am going to share my screen now.
Perfect.
And I am going to try and do this. Cool. All right, there you are. Okay, I just want to make sure I still had you guys. All right, so can you see my screen where it says welcome to Elder Justice Educational Seminars?
Absolutely.
Okay, very good. Okay, so I am a regular seminar instructor. We are here at Rhodes Law. We believe in education and information and providing information and education free of charge to whoever wishes to attend. So we do a regular seminar every single month at One Senior Place. Currently it's on the third Wednesday of the month, and we do it at 10 o'clock in the morning. So that's coming up, I believe, this week, tomorrow. And I'm ready. So this week we're going to be doing specifically Medicaid planning. And we're calling it, don't put all your eggs in one basket, kind of like playing off on the Easter theme. And in May, we're going to be doing a teaching on avoiding guardianship. And of course, the Cinco de Mayo is in May, so we're very corny here. We just can't help ourselves. So the name of our program for the May program is I can't remember exactly how he wrote it, but it's like make decisions for yourself before it's not your choice. And it's kind of a play on guardianship, because guardianship is something we all need to avoid if we can. So as a seminar attorney that provides seminars and information, it's just really important to understand that any information I give as part of any teaching, including the teachings today, is for information for educational purposes only. And it doesn't create an attorney-client privilege. It just In fact, I think I have the wrong seminar up, Beth. I am so sorry. I'm seeing that I have the Medicaid. I'm getting ready to teach a whole thing on Medicaid to you guys. Let me grab the right one real quick. I'm sorry.
That's
See
okay.
these technical things. Here, where is it? Medicaid. Is this the one?
Well,
I think
while
this
you're
is
doing
the
that,
one.
okay, there we go.
Yeah, this is the one. I'm sorry. So I was
Oh,
just
yeah.
about ready to do a whole seminar for you right now on Medicaid planning. That would have been no good. So today is specifically for caregivers and what caregivers should do, because you need to be taking care of yourself. But the same disclaimer does apply, is that whatever information you get today is for information only and doesn't create an attorney-client relationship. But I am happy to answer questions. And if you do need specific information for your specific case, we can always schedule a free consultation to go over things with you. So today is just important legal tips for caregivers and what you need to know as a caregiver, because you need to take care of yourself first. So hopefully you've already gotten a lot of things taken care of for your mom, Jim. But so this is really geared towards you. But if your mom needs this information as well, or some of these things as well, we can help you as long as she has capacity to make decisions for herself still.
Yep.
Okay, so during this presentation, we're going to discuss important legal tips for caregivers. First, we're going to talk about getting a legal checkup, know your plan, get educated, and watching out for estate planning pitfalls. So the first thing is get your legal checkup. The very first thing on your list that you need to think about when you're thinking about getting your legal checkup is you do need to have a relationship, probably with an elder law attorney, because an elder law attorney is going to be able to steer you through what you need to know for your own preparation. And even though the words elder law, I mean, it's kind of it's almost a misnomer, because it's not just for elderly people. It's what the practice areas that we practice in as an elder law attorney affects anyone over the age of 18 potentially. And in fact, because I do guardianship work as an elder law attorney, I even take care of minor children before they become adults who need guardianships. So it's a little bit of a misnomer, the being called an elder law attorney, but I think everyone over the age of 18 could benefit from one degree to another by having a relationship with an attorney that knows how to maneuver through the elder law system. And potentially, ideally, you're going to want to have a relationship with an elder law attorney who is also well connected with other resources that are available in the community, such as financial advisors and elder care coordinators, social workers, senior living, and nursing home directors, and other resources that we can connect you to help make your life a little easier. So who needs a legal checkup? A legal checkup is not only for your loved one, your mom in your situation, but also for you as a caregiver. So you always got to remember the cardinal rule is you must always put the oxygen on yourself first. If something was to happen to you as the caregiver, then what would happen to your loved one? So you need to make sure that you have your legal needs in order, as not only yours, but your mom's, but you have to take care of yourself as well. And then once you have a plan, you got to know your plan. You need to understand it. The first thing we're going to talk about today is first having a plan, getting organized. And now is the time, today is always the day, to check out your own estate planning and make sure that's taken care of. There's a lot of decisions that need to be made when you think about taking care of your own estate planning, such as who do I put in charge? And also, I want to mention, estate planning isn't just about what happens to my property after I die. Estate planning talks about what happens to me and my property while I'm still alive, but unable to take care of myself. Who do I put in charge? Who are going to be the successors that I want to name? How will I divide up my estate? What if someone important in my plan dies or loses capacity? What if I have a major life event? How do I protect my assets in the event that I become ill? And once you have your plan and you have it in place, it's also important to make sure you talk to your loved ones about your plan so that they know that, first of all, that you even have a plan and who should be in charge and where you keep your documents. So these are important conversations that we need to have. The first thing also is we want to get educated about what do we have to do? What do I need to know? So the first question we're going to answer is, what is estate planning? And regardless of your personal wealth, you need a plan for what will happen to your assets, your family, and your personal care in the event of your incapacity or death. Estate planning is the preparation for the transfer of a person's assets after his or her death, but it also includes planning for incapacity. And I think that's one of the most important things that we can do in taking care of ourselves as the caregiver. What will happen to you, your family, your assets if you were to become legally incapacitated? And legally incapacitated, the definition for my purposes would be, there's two different ways of looking at incapacity. One is the legal incapacity, which is when a judge actually declares you to be incapacitated. And that's usually done through a guardianship matter, usually. Or if you have legal documents already in place, you may have a definition of incapacity within your legal documents. And I know with my office, it's usually going to be two physicians that agree that you're no longer capable of making legal decisions. And they would have to sign an affidavit to that effect in order for you to be deemed incapacitated. So there's a difference between being declared legally incapacitated or being deemed incapacitated by a doctor.
Well, so Ruth, I'm going to ask a quick question here, Ruth. So what you're saying is if I wanted my family to be able to start to put things in place for me, if I became, if we felt that if they felt I was becoming legally incapacitated, if they felt I was becoming incapacitated, and we didn't want to have to go through a guardianship through a judge, having in our estate plan the statement that two physician signatures, that would be instead of, so you could do it with two physicians rather than having to go through the courts, correct?
That's correct. But if you don't have your documents in place before you lose capacity, then the only option your family will have in order to have authority over you legally to be able to help you with your assets, income, finances, and such is likely going to be a guardianship situation. So the planning is very, very important. And I don't think a lot of people understand that just because you're married to someone, that you cannot simply have automatic rights to take care of their finances just because you're married to someone, or just because that's your mother. That doesn't mean that you have automatic legal rights to help your mom with her finances and taking care of her legal responsibilities and obligations. And that would include going to the bank for her, paying bills for her. There are some exceptions when it comes to healthcare, where you can maybe get around the need for a legal document, but it's a small exception. And you can't count on it, because if there's more than one person that meets that legal relationship that would allow you to make healthcare decisions for someone, then that can also throw you into a guardianship situation. So it's really important to make sure you plan ahead for yourself, to take care of yourself, to avoid that, because guardianship is very expensive. First of all, you become a ward of the state, which nobody wants that. Your whole life becomes exposed to a lot of strangers. The judge and several, at least 1 to 2 attorneys will be involved. And because there's attorneys involved and the legal system involved, you know, that means ching, 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 lots of money involved, and you're going to pay for that. So it's a money saving thing too, to try and avoid guardianship. It's also to protect your privacy, to avoid guardianship. And guardianship should be avoided also because it causes a lot of strain, a lot of stress, and oftentimes a lot of really difficult emotions in the family. So just having some simple documents prepared can avoid a lot of that problem. Yeah. So who needs estate planning? And the short answer to that, I know the screen's been up for a while, but the short answer to that is everyone needs some sort of planning. Even if you're only 18 years old, it's probably going to be a great idea for that 18-year-old to have, at a minimum, a durable power of attorney and a healthcare surrogate. And I even recommend it when you know someone who has a child that's turning 18 and maybe they're going away to college. Let's make sure they have those two documents so that mom and dad can take care of things. If anything, God forbid, were to happen to their child, they would have the legal ability to make decisions for them without having to get guardianship over their now adult child. And it doesn't matter how much money you have or how much money you make. Estate planning isn't just for rich people. It's for anyone, because it's not just about your property and assets. It's also about your body and your care for you. And it doesn't matter about how much money you have. How much money you have may determine how much planning you need to do, but everyone could benefit from a very basic plan. Even if it's just two documents, like for an 18-year-old. And it doesn't matter your marital status, if you're married or single, you need to have documents done. And no matter if you have children or if you do have children, you should have documents prepared to protect at least yourself. So why is estate planning important? We've already kind of touched on a lot of these things, but no one can predict the future. But we can help prepare for some of the things that could possibly happen. And that's kind of my job as an estate planning elder law attorney, estate planner, is to kind of think about these contingencies, that what if this happens and what if that happens, then what do we do? So we try to come up with plan A, plan B, plan C, and maybe even a plan D, so that you're covered under as many contingencies as possible, because we just don't know what life is going to throw at us. But we can use estate planning to protect your children's inheritances, especially when there's multiple marriages. If one spouse dies and the surviving spouse remarries, you don't want your children to get disinherited and that new spouse end up with all the money that your children should have gotten. So we can plan for these things. If you have disabled loved ones, we want to be able to plan for things to protect them so that they can receive gifts from you without losing their benefits. If you have minor children that you're going to leave money to, minor children cannot legally own property. So sometimes if you leave an inheritance, especially a large inheritance, to a minor child, you may be forcing the parent to have to get a guardianship in order to accept that gift for their child. But there's ways around that with proper planning. You can use estate planning to avoid probate. You can use it for avoiding guardianship. You can use it to appoint the people you want to be in charge of your assets, income, finances, and you can use it to choose the person who should make healthcare decisions for you. So you have a lot of control, a lot of power over your destiny when you prepare your estate planning documents. If you leave things up to chance and you end up having to go through a guardianship process that's in the event that you lost your capacity and your family had to go through guardianship to be able to take care of you. Now you have a judge who doesn't know you making final decisions over who's going to be your decision maker. So it's important to take control of that situation, plan ahead so that you have a say-so in your own destiny. And that's what May's class is going to be about. It's going to be about avoiding guardianship. So before it's natural choice. Because I mean, even though I'm using a play on words and I'm trying to make it cute, it's not cute. And we should try to avoid it if we can. So different types of estate planning documents that I use are going to be trusts. Not everyone needs a trust, but if it's appropriate, we would talk about it and decide whether or not, you know, when I meet with a client, I give them the information and the education, and they make the decision on what's appropriate for them. I give them the education and the information, they make the choice, and I do what they ask me to do. I will give them feedback. I won't let you just blindly go down that path. If I don't think it's in your best interest, I'm going to tell you, I don't think that's in your best interest, but ultimately it's your choice on whether or not you want certain things done. So typically I will discuss trusts, different types of trusts that may be appropriate, a last will and testament. So a trust can take care of property and assets while you're living in the event that you lose capacity. So it can be used as a tool to avoid guardianship, and it can also be used to leave things to your loved ones after you die with control over the asset if you wanted to have some type of control over it. A last will and testament, everybody knows what those are, and they can be either used in conjunction with a trust or separately as a standalone document. Durable power of attorney is a very powerful tool that can be used to avoid guardianship. That's one of the main tools that we use for avoiding guardianship, because this document allows you to appoint someone you trust to make decisions and help you with all of your finances and your property and assets. And it's very powerful in avoiding guardianship. And I don't know if everyone knows this or not, but a durable power of attorney is a live, active document the minute you sign it in the state of Florida, and it dies with you when you pass away. So when you die, so does your power of attorney. And at that point, that's when your estate, you're under your last will and testament, whoever you named as your personal representative would then take over that control. Designation of healthcare surrogate, also a very important document for avoiding guardianship. That document allows you to appoint someone to make healthcare decisions for you, and they can make all decisions for you unless you limit it, from making decisions about what kind of medications you take, what doctors you see, whether or not you go into a hospital or have a procedure done, all the way up and including whether or not you should be on life support or removing you from life support. A living will, sometimes people get that document confused with the last will and testament because it sounds so similar. But a living will is actually an instruction. It's an advance directive, and it's instructions to your future medical providers. So it's instructions to your doctors and nurses and hospitals or whoever's providing healthcare to you. And it speaks for you in the event that you're not able to speak for yourself. And it says to the healthcare providers generally, and they can be tweaked. All of these documents can be tweaked to some degree or another, but typically a living will is going to say, if my doctor, my treating doctor, and a consulting a doctor both agree that I am incapacitated and cannot communicate anymore, and they both agree that I am in the dying process, and there is no reasonable medical probability of my recovery from the dying process, then this document says, keep me comfortable, give me any medications I need to be comfortable or any procedures I need to be comfortable, but do not keep me alive artificially and allow me to die naturally without being kept alive, you know, with tubes or breathing apparatuses and such as that. And then also the declaration naming preneed guardian, that is like my final document that I always want to make sure my clients have, because I'm going to do everything that I know how to do to keep you out of guardianship. But this document says, if there's no way I can avoid guardianship, even though I've done all this planning, then these are the people I want in charge of me. And typically what happens to cause someone to have to go into a guardianship, even though they've done all this planning, is usually because of family dynamics. And hopefully, Jim, you're not from a family that you have to worry about that sort of thing with, but and if you are, then you're blessed. There are a lot of families that don't get along well, and that's typically what will cause a guardianship to have to be necessary, even though a person has all the documents under the sun. And it's usually because of family dynamics, family fighting, power play, things like that, that may cause the need for a guardianship. But what this document does is it tells the judge that if I must have a guardian, then these are the people I want in charge. But one more thing that you can use this document for is if you know there's a person in your family that's troublemaker, that or potential troublemaker, you can actually use this document to say, and I disqualify this person or these people from being able to serve as my guardian. So that can be a powerful document to use if you know there's troublemakers that could be on the horizon. So just real briefly about a trust and what a trust is. It's a legal instrument that is created to hold and protect and manage assets for the benefit of a person or persons. And there are many kinds of trusts, that way more than I could possibly discuss today. But the top 4 trusts that I will use pretty regular in my office is a revocable trust, an irrevocable trust, a special needs trust, and a qualified income trust. Now, the irrevocable trust and the qualified income trust, those are generally used when people are preparing for Medicaid and need to reduce assets or need to reduce income to qualify. You have to, with a word of caution, you have to be really careful about Medicaid planning. So if you're interested in Medicaid planning, I'm going to be teaching a seminar on it. But those 2 documents are usually used for Medicaid planning. Special needs trusts, those are trusts that are used for usually for a disabled person where you want to leave them a gift, but you don't want to disqualify them from their benefits that they're getting. And then a revocable trust, that is the more common trust that most people use when they're doing their estate planning. And easy for me to say, revocable means that you can change it, you can amend it, it's flexible, and you can make changes as life throws changes at you. Last will and testament can be a standalone document that takes care of things without a trust, or it can work with a trust. Inside the last will and testament, you can let your burial wishes be known, but I think it's also very important that your healthcare provider, your healthcare surrogate knows what your burial wishes would be, whether to be buried or cremated or whatnot, because sometimes you can't get to the will fast enough to make those types of decisions. Obviously the will does this estate distribution. You can use it to do a separate writing for personal property. You can name who's going to be the guardian of your minor children in your will. You name who's going to be in charge. Some states call that person the executor. In the state of Florida, we call that person the personal representative. And even if you have financial accounts that have designated beneficiaries on them, and you otherwise don't have any other property that would require a will, it may still be an important thing to have just in case there are some rights that need to be dealt with. For example, if you're in an accident and there's someone is liable for your injuries or for your death, the will names the personal representative, and that's the person who would have the legal right to sue on behalf of your estate. So everyone should have a will, even if it's a super simple one. Durable power of attorney is a document that allows you to appoint someone that you trust to make decisions about your personal and financial affairs in the event that you need help. And like I said earlier, it is an active document the minute you sign it in the state of Florida. So if you have one, it may or may not be a good idea to provide your agent with a copy of it, or you can just tell your agent, hey, I named you as my durable power of attorney. And so if anything happens to me, here's where I keep the document so that they can get access to it without having to go through guardianship to be able to help you. Designation of healthcare surrogate. Again, that is the document that allows you to appoint someone to make healthcare decisions for you. And in the document that I prepare in my office, I'm also going to have a HIPAA authorization, which not only allows them to talk to your doctor, but to also be able to have access to your medical records and have good communication with your doctor. I think that's really important. And the living will, like we just went over, is about end of life decisions and what kind of medical care you have at the end of your life when you're no longer able to communicate. It speaks on your behalf. And the declaration of prenatal guardian, again, we talked about that with instructing the judge on who should be your guardian and who should not be your guardian. So then I also want to discuss some of the pitfalls that you have to watch out for. If you already have estate planning documents, just so you know, estate planning documents are not supposed to be considered a one and done situation. The laws change, your life changes. You may get divorced or married. You may have a new child in the family. You may move to a different jurisdiction. If someone in your documents that is important, either a beneficiary or a decision maker, if they die or lose capacity, it may change the outcome of your plan. You may have a change in your assets. You may have changes in the law. So it's important and it's recommended that you have your documents looked at every 3 to 5 years or so, just to make sure that if there are changes in the law, if there are changes in your life that need to be addressed, that you're getting those things done. Because if you don't keep up with that, there could be unintended consequences of not taking care of the docs. And then some people do it yourself kind of documents where they may download documents from the internet or go to a store and purchase documents. I would be very careful with those types of things. I find those forms to be very troublesome because the people think that they're adequately covered, only to find out when it's too late to change the documents that they're not adequately covered, and now they have to go through a guardianship situation. And most of the time, you're not going to test your documents until it's time to use them. And most of the time when it's time to use them is because the person that you are going to be helping can no longer do it themselves. And if they've already lost capacity, then they can't change their documents. And again, not to keep harping on it, but that can cause a need for a guardianship. Also, a problem and troublesome thing that I come across is when I find documents that have been prepared by people who are either not an attorney at all or are attorneys that don't regularly practice in estate planning, where they are often using out-of-date documents or fill-in-the-blank style documents, and they're not keeping their documents up to date with the changes in the law and the requirements. Those documents can be just as difficult and troublesome as the ones that you download from the internet. So I always recommend hiring, if you're going to bother doing estate planning, spend a little extra money and hire an elder law attorney or an estate planning attorney, someone that practices regularly in the field and keeps their documents up to date and also themselves up to date in the current laws and techniques. An elder law attorney can help you with all of those things. And they can also help connect you with professionals that that you may need to know to help you through your particular situation. We can also review your estate documents that you may have already to make sure they're valid. And we can help you prepare your estate planning documents if you don't have them, or update the ones that you do have, and help you with critical advice based on your particular needs. And that's the end for me. So do you have any questions?
Not right now for me.
All right. Okay, so I am going to figure out how to give you back power. How do I do that?
Actually, Ruth, what you can do is you go to up to where our names are, and you hover over a Mac, and you're
And
going to see the thing that says more or three little dots.
yes, and I
First of all,
made Mac
you
and
went-
Mark.
Yes, there you go.
All
Now
right.
Mac can share her screen.
Okay.
Mac? Okay.
Turn on your microphone, Mac.
There we
That
go.
would help, right?
Here we go. That works.
If you could hear me, yeah, that would be a little bit better.
So Mac, a quick introduction first of who you are and who you're with.
All right, so my name's Mac, and I'm with Dignity Memorial. And Dignity is the nation's leading network of funeral, cemetery, and cremation providers. And for me personally, I am relatively new to the field, although not new to serving others. I have dedicated my entire 17-year career to the service of others, but it wasn't really until the passing of my grandmother that I was kind of unexpectedly put in the decision-making position. And it was like a time of grief and chaos. And I got to witness firsthand everything that goes into place with caring for a loved one and laying them to rest. So it was my father's mother, and my father is one of 7. And as one of 5, I can tell you, siblings don't always get along. And so there's some
Really?
squabbling. No, not us, no,
Shocking.
never. So there was, definitely some hardship that came along with trying to orchestrate everything when grandma wasn't pre-planned. So I definitely had to learn the hard way how to get things done. So I was able to, by the grace of a very patient funeral director, learn about pre-planning. And that's how I got involved with the industry. So with that, I will tell you a little bit about what we're here to discuss today. So today I'd like to share some information on a subject that we all think about from time to time, but very rarely discuss: planning ahead for funeral and cemetery arrangements. Choosing how you want to be remembered is very personal, and there are about as many options available to you as there are apps on your smartphone. But lucky for you, you have your very own personal millennial here to walk you through it. So I feel very strongly that no one should come through my doors at Wiley Baxley, which is in Merritt Island, unprepared and uninformed on the day that they have lost a loved one. But unfortunately, many families face death in exactly that way, making decisions during a difficult time, arguing over details, and scrambling to gather money on how they're going to pay for it. That was my family with grandma. That was exactly what we went through. So that is not how I want other people to have to go through this. We want to make sure that everyone has the information and the education. And if by just sharing a little bit with people in my community, I can spare them what I went through, then that's what I want to do. So to get started, ask yourself, when friends and family gather and reflect about you or your loved one, what will they say about your life? How will your loved one be remembered? What will be your legacy? Okay, let's start with a question. If you were faced with the death of your spouse, your family member, your mother today, what would your family do? Who would you call for help? Do you know how they would want to be remembered? How would that loss impact you both emotionally and financially? Do you even know where to start? Okay, deep breath. Everybody, inhale and exhale. Whew, let it out, let it out. See, that right there is just a little bit of kind of what you would feel when you're actually going through it. I know it's pretty intense. So we want to try to make it a little bit easier for you, and that, of course, would be through pre-planning and making some of those decisions ahead of time. So when you pass away, your loved ones will likely be overwhelmed with grief and emotion. And in most cases, they'll be at a funeral home or a cemetery, mulling over paperwork, pondering over questions they may not know the answer to, stressing over details of your memorial, and wondering how they're going to pay for it all. So having some of the answers to the questions ahead of time could alleviate so much stress for your family. Did you know that there are over 148 questions that need to be answered in a 48-hour period when someone passes away? That is a pretty big weight that you could leave off of someone's shoulders. So most of us put in our planning ahead of time for things like weddings, college education for our kids, our own retirements, all those sorts of things. We're planners by nature. Even though those of us who are poor planners, we still plan for some things. You know, when it rains, we're grabbing the umbrella. Like today, if you're anywhere in Brevard County, well, I think most of Brevard is being hit pretty hard by this rain. So most of us figured, okay, if we're going outside, we're going to grab the umbrella today. But even beyond that, we spend thousands of dollars on home insurance, health insurance, auto insurance, all of these things that are for the what ifs. We hope we're not going to get in a crash, but we want that to be there if we've got it. We hope our home isn't going to flood, but we've got that insurance for just in case it happens. But we don't discuss funeral and cemetery planning. Why is that? It's because it's uncomfortable. Death, who, me? Not going to happen to me. No. But unfortunately, it's an inevitable thing. It's a natural thing. It happens to all of us. So we need to plan for the what wills and not only the what ifs. So a lot of the families that we speak to each year make their arrangements in advance. And the reasons that they give us for doing so make pretty great sense. So one of the reasons is that planning together avoids painful guesswork when a death occurs suddenly and when your mind is clouded with confusion and grief. It helps you to avoid what's known as emotional overspending. When someone passes away who is not pre-planned, there may be a drive to get them the fanciest of everything to show how much we love them, right? But what if that person was a minimalist? Maybe all they wanted was a simple church service. What if grandma's wishes were to be buried in a Jewish cemetery, but she never let anybody know that, and now her kids are placing her in an interfaith garden? It's the passing on that information alleviates that guesswork portion of it. Another big reason is purchasing your funeral at today's prices can also protect your family against inflation in the future. The price of stuff only tends to go in one direction if we're paying attention. So if we had a graph and we put time on one side and the price of the funeral on another side, what direction do we think that line's going to go, right? It's going to go up. That's pretty much the direction we get. So let me ask you with a little bit of trivia. Does anybody know what exactly the Social Security death benefit is? I'll give you a hint. Oh, go ahead.
Is it like $250? It's not much.
$255 exactly. That's all she wrote. That's all you get. And if you want to know why that is, because that was the price of a funeral in 1935 or 34, 35, when they actually decided that there was a burial benefit to be enacted. So it hasn't changed. They haven't changed that at all, but the price has gone up. Would you like to hazard a guess of an average burial in Florida in 2021 prices?
I don't know, Jim, you want to take a guess at that?
Wouldn't even know,
burial.
7,000 or 8,000.
Keep going.
All right, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, a little different. So that's the price of inflation, and that's kind of the nature at which it goes. Statistically, the price of a funeral doubles every 7 to 10 years. So if you put this off for 7 more years, and let's say it's $10,000 in today's money, in 7 to 10 years from now, you're looking at $20,000 for the exact same services. But if you're living a lot longer than that, which hopefully you will, then it's only going up from there. So you want to make sure you lock them in at today's prices and get that additional savings.
Mm-hmm.
So another great reason to pre-plan is to give the people that they love and themselves peace of mind. So this way you can be sure that your wishes are carried out. So you can be placed in that Jewish garden if that's the one you prefer to be buried in. You can have that simple church service with your favorite pastor. Or maybe you just want to make sure that the kids don't have to make those tough decisions. And that's valid too. No matter what they think, how well they think they know you, and if they're responsible for those decisions, they will always be left wondering, did I do the right thing? And did I do what mom would have wanted? Those are some of the things that will stick with you for long after you've made those decisions. But pre-planning will give your family peace of mind as well. And it's something that you can do easily in 4 simple steps that I'll kind of give you the gist of today. So those steps are reflect, record, secure, and share. And the first step is to spend some time reflecting on what is important to you or the person that you're planning for. How would they want to be remembered? When your family and friends share moments of them, what are some of the things that they say? What are the highlights regaled year after year at the Thanksgiving dinner table? What are your family's traditions and customs? And how might those influence the type of service that you would want to have? Maybe there'll be hymns sung or bagpipes played. Maybe a whole rock band or a classical organ. Is your family more a celebrate life kind of family or a traditional remembrance sort? What type of meaningful memories can we capture to help tell the story of you to future generations? So let's say you choose burial. Will you be buried in the ground or entombed in a mausoleum crypt next to your spouse, or maybe in a private mausoleum? In a private family estate. You can have a private mausoleum, a private family estate. There's so many options. So your cemetery memorialization can even reflect your hobbies and interests. We have some awesome benches that have shoes on them for shoppers and fish on them for fishermen. Monuments can be as creative or as traditional as you are. Perhaps you prefer cremation though. So options there include cremation gardens, scattering areas, as well as burial or interment in the mausoleum wall using a niche. There are fun choices too. This is where I get pretty excited. So you can have your cremated remains turned into a tree, you can be shot into outer space, or you can be sunk down into the ocean as part of a coral reef that revitalizes the native fish species, which is pretty cool. So no matter which options that you choose, and there are a lot of options, the memorial will take place in a matter of days. But the place of final rest is a permanent remembrance of the life that you lived. And it also provides a place for family and friends to return to where they can remember and reflect. Okay, we've made it to step 2. So this is after you've made some decisions about your service. So you're going to want to record that information and get some things written down. So to help the families that we serve, we have created the Personal Planning Guide. And this is a book that contains 95% of the information that you'll need to have a fully planned funeral or memorial service. There's a place for the vital statistics, which is everything that you need for the death certificate, as well as everything down to service details, like what hymns you'd like sung. Do you want a violinist there? All sorts of details that you can put. Would you like your let's say you're a military veteran, would you like your flag folded and given to your spouse or your children? All sorts of options. So you can even write your own obituary or a special note to your loved ones if you'd like. Because of one family's use of the Personal Planning Guide, I was able to execute an entire frog-themed funeral. Yes, Grandma loves frogs, and she had a whole collection of frog figurines. We decked out the whole funeral home with them from head to toe in her theme of lilac and lily pads. She had a lilac casket with a casket spray that was so beautiful. It had lilies and lily pads in it with these little frogs that were pieces of her collection. And the whole place was done up. So when the family came in and they saw all of the love and effort that went into making this memorial service so special, they were touched and they said, this is exactly how Grandma would have wanted it. So planning your arrangements in advance can truly be a gift to someone that you love. Now, are you or is your mom a veteran, Jim?
No.
No? Okay. Well, then I can go ahead and bypass this section here on veterans benefits. So so that you know, we do offer information for veterans and help getting them all the materials that they need with getting their veterans burial benefits. So in case you love a veteran, pass it on. Okay. Perfect. So then we're on to step 3, which is to secure. And by secure, we mean that we will work with you to provide options for covering the financial aspects of your arrangements. Like all costs, cemetery costs continue to increase over time. And coming up with cash quickly when a loved one dies can place a burden on loved ones and add to the stress of loss. So by securing your plan, you can lock in today's prices and potentially save your family thousands of dollars. So planning ahead doesn't necessarily mean that you have to spend a lot of money or any money at all, really. You can go ahead and fund your entire arrangements through specialized funeral insurance, or you can use your savings. There are a variety of different options available for planning for your funeral services that someone who is a licensed provider can help you sort through. That's someone who I am. I know I don't sound very official, but I'm a licensed provider and I can help you sort through all this mess. So we'll go ahead and move on to step 4, which is talking to your loved ones about the funeral and cemetery arrangements that you've made. It can be a hard conversation, but it is so important to discuss the plans that you've made and let them know, yes, you want to be cremated. Yes, you have a plot here in Merritt Island, and all of the details, letting them know. And you'll want to keep these documents somewhere that's accessible. You want to make sure that whoever your designated person, your executor, and I forget this term every time, Ruth, help me out. Person of responsibility. Okay, we'll go with that. Whoever your person is can access these documents and then execute your wishes for you. So even though you've done all the hard work of making all those decisions, financing everything, and getting it all put into place, which does no good if your people can't find the papers. So tell your kids, tell your spouse, tell your neighbors, tell your people where to find your papers. That's important. Okay. So one thing to consider though, that no matter how hard the conversation is to have with your family, I have never had a family say, oh no, I can't believe that Nana made all these difficult decisions without me and paid for everything. Oh no, no, they are always so filled with gratitude and relief. They're not unburdened of those 148 questions and financial responsibilities. They can begin the appropriate grieving process and can focus on commemorating their loved one and on healing. So to kind of summarize, there are so many advantages to pre-planning now. You're going to alleviate some of the stress of loss and grieving, like what happened with my grandmother, which was totally avoidable had she pre-planned. You can ease the financial burden because when you pre-plan, you can make payments as opposed to at the time of need when everything is due in full. It's going to provide you with some peace of mind that your wishes will be carried out and that you are relieving your family of that burden. It's also going to let your friends and family celebrate the life that you lived, like the frog lady whose family was so happy to see their grandma perfectly represented in her service. So I just want to go ahead and say that, for me, there is no greater responsibility than helping families honor and celebrate their loved ones. I am so proud to support the community where I live, work, and raise my little family. And I'm committed to community outreach programs such as this, where I can help families, veterans, public servants, and everyday folks get their families protected through pre-planning. So I'm here if you have any questions, and if you would like to know more information, I can put my number in the chat and you can reach out at a later time if you don't want to ask them here. But thank you again for your time today. My name is Mac with Dignity Memorial, and I look forward to speaking with you and making sure that your life is well celebrated. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much. Thanks so much, Matt. Yeah, it would be great if I think, Jim, that I sent you, I'm not sure, but I will absolutely send you both Ruth and Mac's email addresses, but if
Yep,
either, yeah,
Yeah, I already wrote that down from the, took pictures of her first, the contact info.
okay, cool, thanks. And, I just, my 2 cents worth, I will say that, I think we all have, just like Mac had mentioned, she learned this through her family when her, that's how you started getting out, was because your grandmother passed away. I mean, my first introduction into this world of estate planning and funeral planning was, 15 years ago, when my grandmother passed away and my mother was the executor, but I was busy raising kids and not paying a lot of attention. And then, but more recently when my father passed away. And I have to say there was, it really was, my mom and dad have done a lot of wonderful planning ahead of time. And there's wills and trusts and things in place and durable power of attorneys. And they also had their funeral pre-planned. And it really did. I mean, both Ruth and Mac are not wrong in what they're saying with having it take away their, the stress, a lot of the stresses. It doesn't take away all of them, obviously, but it does take away a lot of the stresses and really just eases the burden, and I think if it doesn't add to the burden. And I'm, I'm not sure, Jim, is your dad still with you, or is it just your mom now?
No, we lost my father almost a year ago, so we've been through a little bit of this already.
Yeah. And that's, my father passed away in November of 19. And, I just, anybody that's gone through it, they sort of have, the idea that, gee, I do need to start to think about it, so. Jim,
Right.
did you have any questions?
No, I'm gonna reach out. I want to reach out to Ruth at a later date and maybe set up a time with her, because I need to get some of my everything on my end done too,
Yeah.
as well as my mom. So, and with my mom, it's more of the durable power of attorney and the healthcare issues that we're going to face eventually. So.
Mm-hmm. And I do know that with both, and I keep saying this, I said this in January, and I said this at both of our caregiver conversations, I do need to talk to you as soon as I can get Mike nailed down and off the golf course. I'm going to drag him in by the ear, and we're going to say, okay, well, it's time to do this now.
Right. Well, I appreciate all the information.
Well, I thank you very, very much. And you have our information, and feel free to get a hold of me or or Ruth or Mac.
Yep.
For follow-up. And, Jim, I hope maybe if you get a chance, you'll be able to join us for next week's seminar, taking care of yourself and keep your wealth full if you've got the time. But I appreciate you joining us for this one.
Well, thank you very much.
I thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Mac. We'll be doing this. One more thing, Jim, before you leave, let folks know that I plan to do this seminar again in July, and hoping that Ruth and Mac will be joining us again. And so that if you know of anybody that would benefit from this caregiver series, let them know. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Nice meeting nice meeting you, Jim. Nice seeing
Thank
you,
you,
Mac.
Appreciate it.
All
Thank
right.
you, Beth. Nice to meet you,
Bye-bye.
Jim.